world. I am Samantha Jones Darling, and today I'm going to tell you an amazing story. I am finally revealing my behind the scenes as a traveling author, foodie, and spiritual mentor. I've spent the last 8 years traveling the world on my own. I lived in what I call location immersions. I would stay in each town typically for 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer, occasionally less. And everybody asks at this point which place was my favorite. And I'll tell you the truth, I loved them all for what they were. I cannot choose one over the other. It's like trying to choose your favorite child or a favorite piece of art. I just can't. Plus, it's unnecessarily put in competition that all worked together so seamlessly. And I'm not done seeing the world yet. Maybe someday I will meet my all-time favorite. But today, my motto is, we cannot truly belong to anything greater unless we first belong to ourselves. I believe in developing a strong relationship with self so we can be fully present, fully discerning, and fully available to share as much or as little as we feel called to. A pioneer in modern nomadic solo traveling, my unique lifestyle brings up a lot of different reactions. Fear in some, others love it and they want to do it too, and some don't understand me at all. They just want me to buy a house and sit down. And I won't lie, it has been very challenging at times, but it is so wonderful the way that it lights me up to more than I can imagine. The expansion of self brings me so much joy. Plus, you know, the food is always good and it's so exciting to see the world. So how did this life find me? Well, after a year of working on myself in the LA recovery community, I knew I needed to take the opportunity in front of me, the blank slate of what's next, to do something that would crack my heart and my life wide open. I considered my options. 1, go back to the life that I left and try to fit back in with my new mindsets and my new habits. 2, go sideways, pick a new location, get a place to live, get a gym membership, and merge into mainstream reality with my new self. Or 3, stay where I was and try my luck at life in Hollywood. To be honest, none of those lit me up. This was a chance of a lifetime, and I knew it, and I knew I had to go bigger than I'd ever gone before. So I asked myself, who is living a life that excites me? Who is pushing the envelope? And I wondered, could I build a life of success on my own without a man? And more importantly, I asked, what do I need to experience to discover my truest self? What lies beyond the borders that I have never crossed? Well, no surprise, the unknown was so tempting I could not resist. So who inspired me? Well, it's a pretty famous name that I'm sure you'll recognize. I followed in the footsteps of Anthony Bourdain and became a world explorer. Driven to see the markets of foreign worlds, thirsty to taste all the flavors of the world, confronting my fears and expanding my senses simultaneously. A budding writer, a seasoned restaurateur with a passion for all culinary experiences, I remembered these words and I went for gold. Welcome to my world. As a cook, tastes and smells are my memories. And now I am in search of new ones. So I am leaving New York City in hopes of finding a few epiphanies around the world, and I'm willing to go to some lengths to do that. I'm looking for an extreme of emotions and experiences. I'll try anything. I'll risk everything. I've got nothing to lose. I write, I eat, I travel, and I am hungry for more. Ooh! This spoke to every cell in my soul. It felt like a calling to the wild. I went all in and said yes to everything. I found a piece of my soul in every location. I walked into the fire of transformation 1,000 times alone. And along the way, with relentless devotion to it, I became the light of my own life. What was it like? Well, it was entirely unscripted and better than any screenwriter could invent. Nothing that happened was planned. I started off following in the footsteps of those before me, but getting off the beaten path and going my own way was the medicine I truly needed. It didn't take long for me to pop up in another world full of friends with new adventures and new flavors. It was thrilling, life-changing, simply epic, to say the least. I had embarked on a worldwide scavenger hunt for lost pieces of my soul. I never knew where I was headed or what I would find. Going alone was the medicine that I needed to end the life of codependency that I had lived so far. Exploring the flavors of the world brought me out of my comfort zone and forged connections through the language of food and flavor. Learning and trying new things kept me coming back for more and more and more. What was I hoping for? Well, I went seeking love. The love of self, the love of a man, the love of land, love I had never had. More of it, all of it, some of it. I wanted to get struck by lightning. A satisfaction that couldn't be quenched by booze or food or shopping or sex. I left all those outside crutches behind one by one. The naturalistic medicines of the world were the libations that finally soothed my aching, restless soul. I found peace in stillness, calmness in the chaos, and somehow grounded myself while riding the roller coaster of healing. For 8 years, I've been living this life, traveling the world on my own, seeking more from myself, more from the world, testing my limits, passing them by, finding more than I imagined I would. Was I running away? There are a lot of people who think I am. There were a lot of people who thought I was running from something. And maybe in the beginning I was just a little bit. But truth be told, and this is my point, I have actually been running towards something my entire life. Something massive, something unknown, something my heart knows the way to. An unknown path my soul drives me towards, that my heart beats for. And because of it, I have never been able to settle for a moment in a place where I don't belong. I started my self-discovery journey by cleaning up my side of the street and learning to take responsibility for my part in the toxic life that I left. Through that first step, I uncovered the student of life I was born to be. I uncovered the writer who waited patiently all her life to be called upon. I stepped into the role of teacher, mentor, and guide. I had found the right lane for me. Next step, develop it into mastery. So I kept going. My self-development journey started with a grounding into myself. By finally choosing myself, by finally learning to be alone, by listening to my body and letting her lead, she led me into love. I started loving life by exploring life through childlike wonder. I said yes to every invitation to look inside. I went farther than I'd ever dreamed. I met new ideas on every corner. Next, I went into a deep cleanse to rid my body and soul of everything that did not resonate with me anymore. The people I chose changed. The foods I chose elevated. The places I went expanded. And my body demanded we let go of the poisonous breast implants that were trying to kill me from the inside out. Following that wildly intense and life-changing surgery that woke up more about me than my clear audience, it was time to look at what I was putting into my body. What was I nourishing with? Discernment in all things became my highest priority. I used holistic treatments for the first time, diving in headfirst to all of them to see what worked for me. I cultivated a devoted spiritual practice that I still use today. I found a treasure trove overflowing with resonance. Spiritual medicines I had used in past lifetimes, and souls who had walked the earth with me many times before. Every healer I met said, "You're one of us," and I knew it was true. They sat me down, they taught me, they opened me, they encouraged me, and I listened completely. Restoration of the mind, body, and soul was my next lesson. A tough teacher who held me hostage until I surrendered to her demands. I found her in nature. I found her in solitude. I found her in moonlight peace. The playground of life. And just like the golden child who has been held in love, bathed in warm waters, fed the freshest fruits and milk, and has just awoken from a delicious nap. Next, I went outside to play with my friends. I danced under the full moon in Mexico, saw Italian operas in Croatia with my English friend. I went fishing in the Black Sea, met a tarot reader from Russia, took a week in bed with a Brazilian lover while the world around us burned fires of fear. I traveled Europe, including the old wood line from Zagreb to Split. Woo, rickety. I took an overnight ferry on 420 to Amsterdam. I sat with ayahuasca in the Holland countryside on a horse farm with an indoor pool and sauna when I thought I was going to a shack in the woods. That was one of the best surprises ever. I spent a naked weekend with the nudists to see what they're all about, which led to a nude photo shoot on the North Shore of Kauai. I drove my Jeep up the PCH and back down. I snorkeled in Fiji with the band. I gambled in Melbourne with my Turkish love. I confronted my fears like it was my job, because it was. I lived on a farm. I camped in a tent. I did yoga teacher training. I smoked out of papaya trees. I got attacked by roosters, snakes, and smashed by dump trucks. I had Bali belly for 12 days, was chased by dogs in Mexico, ripped off by smooth-talking Mexicans, close to death more than once. I figured everything had happened. Surely I was done, right? So I come back to America thinking I had completed the circle, ready to settle in. And then I fell on the worst of all hard times. I lost everything in my bank account the day before Christmas. I lived in my truck on the streets of New Orleans, forcing me to create a new life from scratch. I knew I couldn't go backwards in any way in those moments, and when I did, I became invisible, so I had to turn around. My soul was not playing those retroactive games. So I went all in on me. I painted my blank canvas with as much authenticity as I could, all the alignment that I had, and then I peppered it with fun, passion, pleasure, and truth. I learned the difference between knowing gratitude and being gratitude, and it changed my world. I purged the clinging demons of my past. At the suggestion of my guides, I like to hold on to things, painstakingly choosing to go no contact with the family I had left. And then my world opened up immediately, my calendar booked fully, and I couldn't look back. I used the blood of my soul, the words of my heart, and the foundation of my body to create a retreat business that bailed me out of the red. I finally learned what it means to know I have everything within to create a masterpiece of life. I spent the next 2 years healing others, empowering them, and giving as much as I ever had to give. It was so beautiful. Every client that sat across from me was a version of me who needed to hear what only I could say. I sat across from my 30-year-old self. I saw her need for gratitude, for grace, for forgiveness, for herself and for her husband. I showed her how to release resentment and replace it with love. I sat across from a version of my mother and got to help her face her fears, empowering her with courage and confidence. I got to sit across from the child who's been touched without permission by the elders and say, "You can put this down now. Give it to me, I'll take it. Stopping the cycle of shame. I got to sit across from my muse and speak with the voice of love and inspiration. I got to sit across from the men who were abandoned, the women who were neglected, and teach them how to show up for themselves. I got to sit across from the writer who thought her words were useless and tell her there's no such thing. I got to hold people in their darkest moments and tell them they aren't alone ever again. And now I am complete. The cycle has come to a close, and I have found the love I was seeking, and it is me. She is who I went to meet, and she is who I found. This mission is complete. I found the softness of compassion, the generosity of perseverance, the restoration that comes from solitude. I found the voice of love who guides my every move, and she is me. I've already started again. The perpetual fool that I am, you can count on that. Ever changing, ever expanding, ever pushing my boundaries. I live this life of spiritual ascension. I live to come home to love. I live to follow my heart. I am a lighthouse for myself through the grounded pillars of my foundation. I shine because I am grounded. I light up the night because I am free. Authenticity, truth, transparency, integrity, gratitude, wild imagination, a fire of hope that never goes out, a relentless nature that grows with the passage of time. Ground, cleanse, nourish, restore, play, create, integrate, repeat. I lived it. I learned it. I wrote it down to see if it was anything. When I saw that it was gold, I created a system from it for you, for me, to always be in a life that I don't need to run from. Each morning I wake up and I look within. I scan my body and I ask, what medicine do I need today? And I want to give you this gift of knowledge and self-awareness. Will you let me? I have rarely let an opportunity pass me by to have fun, to try new things, to learn, to grow, to serve others. I live to create, to lay in a hammock, to kiss the sky, to be in love. Won't you join me? I am Samantha Jones Starling, and I am the light of my own life. An explorer on a never-ending hero's journey, I am here to help you uncover yours, to create the life you want, the one that brings tears to your eyes, the one you won't regret.